finalist for the athletic director position at UWM. This is Amanda Braun. She is coming to us from Northeastern University, where she's the Executive Senior Associate Director of Athletics. Before that, she's worked at Duke University and the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, and she actually spent 2 years as Associate Director of Athletics at our own UW Green Bay. Welcome.
Thank you, Bill. Can everyone hear me okay? All right. I never perfected the coaching voice, so I can't project to the back of the room. Well, I appreciate everyone showing up today for public speaking. For me, I kind of have a reverse fear that nobody will show up as opposed to having too many people to talk to. So I appreciate you being here today, especially on a Friday. I do, every now and then, we'll probably have to sip on some water. I've just gotten over a cold, so I've kind of gone into some coughing fits already this morning, so please excuse that. So the topic today that we were given to talk about is defining success in UWM athletics in the competition, community, and classroom. And as I considered what to include in my remarks today, the first thing that stuck out for me was UWM. And it's really the most important component of this topic. And the reason why I say that is the first step in defining success in any organization for any individual is having a clear understanding of who you are and what your values are, what will drive the decisions around defining success for yourself and for your future. And in college athletics, understanding who you are greatly influences the goals that you set for yourself and will drive the future in many ways. So at our level of athletics, and when I say our level, by no means do I mean to say that it's any lesser. I have spent 15 years at this level by choice, and I was a student athlete at this level of Division I athletics. And I might be a little bit biased for that reason, but I do think that we get it right. We balance the student with the athlete, allowing students to have a wonderful experience both in the classroom and the community, all in the classroom and the community. And in their athletic endeavors. So having said that, there is a temptation to allow others to define your success for you and what your values are. So it's important to first lay the groundwork by knowing who you are and what your values are and allow those to guide how you define success for yourself. So with that groundwork and with that in mind, what I did was took my talk and divided it into two components. And the first component is going to be showing an example of what success looks like in each of these three areas. And then from there, we'll talk about what it is that contributed to that success and the examples and how those things may be able to define the future for UWM athletics. So we'll begin at the beginning, success in competition. Generally speaking, at our level, and really any level within athletics, individual accomplishments, student athletes reaching their potential, having a positive experience as a team, all define success. Being able to compete for championships within a conference, qualifying for national titles, maybe moving into the national tournament a few rounds, that's all success. And then making a contribution to your campus by elevating the energy, making it an exciting place to be. So the example that I found, I didn't have to look too far, is right here at UWM. And I remember the example very well, having been at Green Bay for 7 years and being a victim of that success here at Milwaukee, more times than I'd like to remember. But it's truly impressive. And I know you're likely familiar with these numbers, but 116 Horizon League titles over the past 15 years is an amazing number. And to put that in perspective, the second highest total by an active member in the Horizon League is 57. So it's really twice the number of titles in setting the standard within the league. And then 34 NCAA tournament appearances, nearly every sport having that experience over this time. And then hundreds of individual student athlete and coach honors at the league level, and region, nationally, really setting the standard. And all that has culminated, in my example that I found, in 6 all-sport championships, 6 of the last 12. And again, to put that in perspective, the next highest of any league member is 2. So it's fair to say that UWM is setting the standard within the league, but also at our level nationally. Those are really amazing accomplishments. Success in the community is generally defined as student athletes being involved, having a positive impact on people and those who may be less fortunate. And then the athletics engaging your students, current students, your alumni in the community. Those are all hallmarks of success when you're doing it well in athletics within the community. So again, I didn't look very far to find my example. Right here at UWM, there's a lot of success to be proud of within the community. The student athlete leadership through the Student Athlete Advisory Committee has done numerous activities and reaching out to the community, both here on campus activities and then throughout the greater Milwaukee community. And athletics has created great visibility within the within the Milwaukee community and energized UWM alumni throughout the area. And you can see here, I did pick a couple of pictures of Pounce. He seemed to be everywhere. I know that he had student athletes with him, and I'm a Brewer fan, so I picked a couple that are affiliated with the Brewers, which I wanted to note is a really great relationship that the university has in the community is with the Brewer organization, and probably something that can be built on for the future. And then finally, the heart of any community, any campus community, are its students. And athletics has taken a leadership position here in Milwaukee in working to elevate the energy of the campus by bringing students together and giving them something to rally around. So setting the standard for success in the community, UWM has done that very well. And then finally, success in the classroom. As educators, this is the ultimate in success. Athletics or within higher ed generally are we providing the students an opportunity to obtain a meaningful degree and prepare for a life of fulfillment and achievement beyond their college years. That is really what success looks like. And I know you won't be surprised at the example that I chose here, UWM. So I was corrected when I was looking through some materials that I was given last night about the semesters. I was guessing it was 24 now because there were over 200 student athletes honored the other night for a 3.0 or better, I believe, if I have that right. And that's 2/3 of the student athlete population. So I was guessing it was probably 24, but I looked this morning in my materials and it said 25. So that is a tremendous accomplishment. And then one of the other notes in there was that 2/3 of the freshmen received a 3.0 or better. Wow, for freshmen to come in and be that successful generally and then to have athletics on their plate and all the other time requirements is really impressive. And then over half of the student athletes regularly achieve a 3.0 each semester. And within the Horizon League, a third on a regular basis are named to the honor roll for the Horizon League. And then 80% graduation rate. I don't know if all of you can see that, but the graduation success rate most recently was 80%. And at any level of athletics and really in higher ed, that is a terrific number. That means that students are coming and getting the experience not only within athletics, but getting that meaningful degree and being prepared to go out and have a career for their life. So as we've seen in all three areas, UWM really, at least from my perspective, is a terrific example of success. And having said all that, and celebrated a little bit with you on these accomplishments, I will say I think there's more to do. I do think that it's really just the tip of the iceberg here at Milwaukee. And there's an opportunity to set the bar even higher. So the question is, what were the keys to this success and in building this foundation that's here at Milwaukee within athletics? And I think that if you were to ask the coaches and the student athletes that were involved in this level of success, we'd probably hear a lot of common themes, a lot of the same words would come up. There are three that I think would come up more frequently in some form, and those are leadership, a shared vision, and teamwork. Leadership, we'd likely hear that the coaches led the way, and that's true of any team, that the captains played their role well and took a leadership position. But in successful teams, we'd hear that most everyone within the team had an opportunity to take a leadership role, from the quietest member of the team all the way to the newest member of the team. People would have opportunities to lead. A shared vision, each person having a clear understanding of what it is that they were trying to accomplish. We'd likely hear from the athletes that they were able to articulate that this is what we're trying to do and here's how we're going to get there together. And then finally, teamwork, working together toward a shared vision. We'd likely hear that morning workouts and off-season workouts and getting to class on time were all part of pulling each other together through trying times. Difficult parts of every season has difficult moments, and working together to get through those. So as we think about what will define the future of UWM athletics and what will allow us to build on the foundation that's clearly already here, leadership, shared vision, and teamwork will likely have the greatest impact on the future. So a strong leadership will be important in raising the bar, and leadership that models commitment, integrity, and passion. Leaders who will roll up their sleeves and work a plan and see it through. And I almost felt like I should walk in here with my sleeves rolled up today, and I'm not kidding because I've heard it twice today, and I've heard it at least a half a dozen times from people I've spoken to about this opportunity and about this role. And it can't be understated how much commitment is necessary from leadership to come in and see a plan through and be a part of it. Leaders who operate with integrity, seeing that every decision that's made has the university's best interest in mind, and in particular when it's not easy to share information, that you do it because you know it's the right thing to do, regardless of personal interest or how it might have a negative impact. And then leaders that have a real passion, not only for athletics, but for higher education and for educating students and preparing them for that life of fulfillment and achievement. And then finally, leadership that's inclusive, that every person that's a part of it feels like they are contributing and they're adding value to the end goal. A shared vision will also be important to raising the bar here at UWM Athletics and building on that foundation, one that clearly defines who we are, what we aspire to, and then sets the course for future success, and is something that everyone within the team can talk about in the same way. And it's that clear that everyone knows that we've got this and we're going to do this together. So I can't say with certainty what the shared vision for athletics here at UWM will be, but I can say that there are two things that will guide the conversation. And the first one is the focus on the student athletes. An uncompromising focus at every decision point and when we set priorities that the student athlete is first. Educating students, supporting them for their goals in the future, that has to be the first and primary focus in everything we do. And having that focus will lead to ensuring that coaches are supported and that they have the resources they need to be successful, because that impacts the student athlete experience as much as anything. And all you need to do is ask the coaches, and they'll tell you that if they're not supported, it's very hard to provide a positive experience for the student athletes. Creating plans for success will be necessary, matching the resources with the expectations for each program so the students have the experience that you want them to have, and then working with university leadership to address the most urgent issues that impact the student athlete experience here at Milwaukee. The other guiding principle I would cite as contributing to a shared vision and in the conversation is alignment with the university mission and goals, that the goals and the mission and values of athletics line up well with the university's mission and values. So every organization is responsible to steward its top supporters. Here at UWM, just as my current institution and all of those at our level, our top supporters are our university and our students. So it's a responsibility of athletics to do all that it can to support the mission and the values of the institution and help the institution achieve its goals. So here at UWM, I do think, from what I've learned and heard, there are some things that athletics can help the university achieve in its priorities. A few examples are the Chancellor's Best Place to Work initiative, recruitment and retention of students, and engaging alumni in the community. Athletics can assist with these priorities by being a point of pride within the community, giving something for students and alumni in the community to rally around and feel good about, that will contribute to achieving those priorities within the university. And finally, teamwork. And I left this last for a reason. I think you can have the best leaders in the world. I think that you can have the most clearly articulated vision that everyone understands. But if you don't have teamwork as a component of what you're doing, then there's a high likelihood you're not going to achieve success at any level. And really, it's what differentiates our level of athletics, that athletics is integrated into the fabric of the university and is part of everything that the university does. We're not an entity to ourselves and truly work in partnership in collaboration with colleagues across campus. So having a common purpose, communicating and collaborating both within athletics but also across campus will be critical in moving forward UWM Athletics and setting the definition for success moving forward. So on the note of teamwork, I will finish with what is a favorite quote of mine, because defining moments in life and in any organization are always characterized by collaboration and teamwork. So collaborative efforts with UWM Athletics and university leadership, with athletics and colleagues and students across campus, and with athletics in the greater UWM community beyond campus, will be the key to defining success and achieving success for the future of UWM and building on that infrastructure and that foundation that's already here. I'm grateful to be here today. I appreciate your time, and I look forward to hearing your questions and comments and feedback.
I'm a retired faculty member, and I've been involved with the athletic program throughout my career in one way or another. Really, my sense is we have a great cohort of coaches, and the facilities are coming along, but the biggest challenge in order to get to the next level seems to be funding, isn't it always? A couple things going on. First of all, most of the operating budget is on student fees. It'd be nice to see that come down to some rational level. Recognizing student fees will always have to be there in some form or fashion to assist the program. But, you know, in the context of rising tuition costs and then the addition of segregated fees, as we call these student fees, if you'll recall from drinking that, you know, it keeps going up and up and up, and it has a negative impact. But then, I think the more important area, and if you could discuss this in some detail, is capital funding, major gifts, big ones. Okay, and I read with great interest in your resume, you've had some experience in that area. Knowing what you know about our area in general, or more specific, where do you see possibilities for getting these mega gifts? You know, $1 million and up. Because we really need that kind of support to get to the next level for facility development, support for the program, and I'll shut up with that.
I appreciate your question. It's a good one, and it certainly is one of those urgent issues that we need to collaborate on. Can you hear me okay? Do I need the mic? Okay. Yeah, well, where you start is I don't have a list in my pocket of $1 million donors. I wish I did. Yeah, no. But where you start is working together to identify who those people are. And fortunately, I just came out of a meeting with Vice Chancellor Borger, so I have a better understanding and answer to a lot of the questions that I needed answered to better frame the future with regard to fundraising. And I do think it's an answer. You know, at our level, again, it's not unusual that 85% of athletics budgets are funded by the university or the students or some combination, but it is important that we do our part. So I think what we do is collaborate with Central Advancement, Alumni Relations, begin to identify a case statement for energizing people to feel good about athletics, and that's working a plan, that's rolling up your sleeves, being committed to that and identifying who those people are. And that takes time and it takes a lot of effort, but I do think over time you cultivate the right people, and you send the right messages. And there's so many good messages to send. I think from hearing from Patricia, that was one of the things that she sort of felt like we could do better is messaging and making sure that people do hear about all these wonderful things. And my experience in athletics has always been at this level where transactional fundraising, if you will, which is you give a donation to get a seat location or to get access to parking, is not part of what we do. It's true philanthropic giving. It's about giving to the student-athlete experience, students' education, and you have to message that way at a place like UWM and others like that. So that's where I would start, and I think that would be what would guide that path.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Adrienne Bass. I'm with the Alumni Office, and you mentioned something earlier about success is going to be a part of being in collaborations on campus, and that certainly holds true here at UWM. And there's a lot of opportunity for growth and involvement and alignment with alumni and athletics. And so I just wanted to know what your experience has been and what your expectations would be in working with the alumni population and how you see us moving together.
Yeah, a lot of opportunity there. It's something I do have a lot of experience with and has worked well where I am right now. You're headed to Phoenix, right, in a few weeks, I understand? Yeah. Right, yeah, that's good opportunities to get out and engage with alumni. And so I think anything that athletics can do to try and energize, whether it be, having student athletes at functions or coaches or, myself or whomever, to try to show the connection with the campus so that people really do know that athletics is part of the university is important. So anything that we can do, I think getting our teams out on the road, there are always, and Patricia and I talked about this, are there ways that we can pull lists of people where we are? So let's say I'm traveling with the team. Can I invite people to dinner? Can we have them come to the pregame meal? Get them in the stands to watch a competition and really get that sense for what the student-athlete experience is. Because again, in institutions that aren't transactional in their fundraising, you need to connect them with what they're giving to. And I think that that's probably something that athletics can do with alumni relations. I don't know if that's happening or not, or at what level, but that's certainly an opportunity and something I would look forward to doing. Yeah.
Well, I'm Jose. I work at the LGBT Research Center as a communications coordinator. So I'm here representing our center and our students. Our general question would be, can you share a bit about how you've worked towards including the LGBT identified athletes in your prior career, and how would you plan on including them or making them feel welcome here at UWM?
Yeah, well, thanks for your question. I appreciate that representation. Well, at my current institution, I'll use that as an example. We established about 5 years ago 5 core values, and one of those was appreciation of difference. And we chose not to use the word diversity because we wanted something that was active. So appreciation says that not only is it tolerated difference, but that we appreciate it as part of the experience and working towards success. So that we talk about with our athletes all of the time. And that's in any way that diversity engages in athletics. We also have partnered with G-Force. I don't know if you're familiar. They promote getting homophobia out of the locker rooms and that sort of language. And we partnered with them and brought them in to speak with our student athletes to understand better how hurtful that language can be, even the most minor things. And then another thing we did, I don't know if you're familiar with the You Can Play campaign through the NHL. Brian Burke, former GM, I believe, of the Toronto Maple Leafs, had a personal tragedy in his life, and so he started this campaign last spring called You Can Play. And it's all around the LGBT athletics community, and not just in college, but everywhere. And we had a staff member come to us, and it took 5 minutes. She barely got it out. They wanted to do a video. She's a strength and conditioning coach, and they wanted to do this video to support the You Can Play campaign. And we said, absolutely, let's do it. We got our video production staff and anyone else that was interested, student athletes and staff, to be a part of this video. And with the feedback we got from that was amazing. We had a lot of people applauding our efforts. We had students come back and say how much that meant to them. And then we had others asking, how can we do that too? So the America East Conference across town in Boston did the same thing with league-wide. So we had an impact there and sent messages to that component of our athletics program and our student athletes.
How do you work on, or how do you plan on transferring that here to UWM?
Yeah, I think it's all how you talk about it, being willing to have the conversation, understanding where we are right now. How do people feel? We do student athlete exit interviews, and I would imagine that those are done here as well. Understanding how people feel. Do they feel safe? Do they feel like it's an inclusive environment? So getting a gauge on where that is, and if there are challenges, where are they? And then identifying ways to open up the conversation, do some things with, be it G-Force or the You Can Play campaign, to send messages to the student athletes that everyone's important, everyone's a teammate. So I would see that as being the first step, is understanding first where it is, and then kind of go from there.
We have an extremely large financial debt amongst the athletics department. Do you have any specific ideas on how to eliminate that?
You know, I've looked a little bit at what I've been given. I'd have to obviously look a bit more. I do know that the expenses, that side of it, so there are two ledgers, as we know, with the national political stuff on, you know, are we going to tax or are we going to cut spending? So looking at the spending, you know, I've compared it to my institution and others like ours, and it looks very similar. I don't see any red flags from everything I've heard. It's very healthy. It's not there's no exorbitant spending or anything. So that side of the ledger seems to look pretty good. So it's the revenue side that needs to be worked upon. And the answer to my previous question, one of those things is fundraising. So you got to get out there, shake the trees, and get people to support. That takes time. So the deficit won't go away overnight, but you do need to start there. I've looked at some of the other revenue lines, and there are some opportunities. It looks like, not to get into the weeds too much, but the corporate sponsorship component is very healthy for this level, and from what I understand could probably be done even better. There's a lot of opportunity there for growth. So those would be some of the things I'd have to look at. Working with the leadership here at the university to find those things. I know that Andy will remain in place for a bit, and that excites me. I think he's got some creative ideas, and we've had a good conversation this morning about how we can address those things together. So there'll be a plan. Tom.
Hi, Tom Lujak from University Relations. You've heard about the great support that the students have given us financially for the program. They really have been the mainstay in terms of providing revenue. We don't always see the student engagement or presence, though, at the events themselves. What would you personally do to turn that around, to see a more engaged and excited student body actually participate in our events?
Well, I'll rely on another example of something I've done. We put together some plans for success for programs at my current institution. And one of the things that came out of one of those plans was something that was home court advantage, was sort of what we called it. And that student athletes will likely perform at a high, if you've ever participated in organized athletics, you know if people are watching, it's more fun, you put a little more effort into it, it's just reality. So we did identify that as an advantage to try to get people out there to help our student athletes have a better experience and compete harder and potentially be more competitive. So what came out of that was a partnership across campus with our student affairs vice president, community and government relations, and alumni relations. And we called it Operation Home Court Advantage. And regular meetings with our marketing folks and people from those staffs to talk about how we can engage the community better and get people out. So very creative ideas, you know. Some of them, what everyone does, youth, getting youth groups out, busing in, because we're in an urban environment also at Northeastern, and getting, you know, students to come out and be a part of the campus for a day and have that experience and hear people talk, whether it be a coach or whomever, and then come out to the game. So we came up with some neat ideas. Our alumni relations office created, and for men's basketball in particular, and they call it the Spot. It's basically a small little bar area that they've invited and engaged people to come out to and be a part of. Our students like it. I know it's probably not the right way to draw them to the game, but that was an idea they had, I think, directed mostly towards the alums, but our students seem to enjoy it. It's done responsibly, obviously, but there are some creative ideas that came out of that. So I think personally, trying to get other people to come together and brainstorm around that. It's not just our marketing staff trying to figure out how to get the students to come out and support the student athletes in the competitions. It would have to be a more broad-based conversation and include a lot of people. Mm-hmm.
Amanda, hi, Sandy Bond with Alumni Relations
yes.
now. What are your thoughts on our facilities? Our facilities and
well, I haven't yet seen the baseball facility. That's one I've asked that my tour include today. So I'll have to reserve judgment on that, but I haven't heard real positive things about it. Just to be really candid, they're limited. You know, it's limited. What's amazing to me, not to get off topic, is that there's been so much success despite what appear to be real facility challenges. So I think when there are changes made, and I kind of cheated, and our architect that I worked with at Sasaki out in Boston on our projects also worked on your campus master plan. So he was able to send me some information about what the master plan looked like a few years ago. And then I've read all kinds of different iterations on an on-campus arena and expansion of Klachi and all those things. So it sounds like what's positive about that is while there are all kinds of different ideas, that there are ideas and people are talking about them, and that there needs to be some improvement, and there is some energy around that and people really wanting that to happen. Now it's a matter of figuring out what's the top priority and then clearing the path to make it happen, which involves raising some dollars and energizing some people to also recognize that it's a priority and really a really important part of the answer for UWM for the future. And that while this success that we talked about here is wonderful, it could be even better. And that's the message we need to send around the facilities, is that while they may be serviceable, it's certainly not to the caliber of championship level that Milwaukee's achieved and can achieve. Does that answer your question? Those are my thoughts. Yeah, okay.
Another question. I think if you were to become our athletic director, there's very few women athletic directors out there, and I think it's a man's world in a lot of ways. The good old boy network in the athletic department. How would you handle just being a woman athletic director and having to compete against a lot of male counterparts?
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to say I haven't noticed it in my career. It's certainly there. It's a motivator for me. I think that it's important for me to mentor young people, and men and women alike. And I think that you can't be what you can't see. And so it's important for me to take on that leadership role if it's an opportunity that presents itself for me. And I've noticed it, but I've not really been all that challenged by the male world, if you will. I kind of breeze right through it. I try not to make it an issue. You know, if you keep your sense of humor and you just be who you are, people appreciate that. I have a lot of male mentors. I mentor a lot of males. So for me, it's not a challenge, an issue. It'll be something people will talk about, and I think that's good because the conversation's being had, and hopefully the number will come out that I would be like number 34 out of 345 in Division I. And people will go, wow, really? There's only 34? And so it starts the conversation and gets people recognizing something that needs to be improved. But I think we're all people, and in athletics we have the same goal. We want to be competitive, want to educate students on campus here, and I think that I wouldn't let anything stand in my way from that. Yes.
I
I have to respond, those comments resonate. Thank you for them.
Bet.
Having worked most of my career in testosterone health. That aside. Sorry,
Sorry,
Sandy,
guys.
I had to throw that out. I have I think it's probably more a personal question. I noticed from your resume that after Siena, you showed coursework at Duke Law School. Obviously, your original intent, it strikes me, was to become a lawyer. What happened to change that?
Well, I think you'd have to go back to the 20-year-old Amanda Braun to find out what my original intent was, because I had a few of them. I initially wanted to be a physical therapist, so I did all the prereqs for the master's program, and then at the end of my time at Siena, I decided I didn't want to do that. So I thought, well, you know, I scored well in the analytical part of whatever the GRE, so I thought, well, I'll take the LSAT. Law school would be interesting. So I'm bopping around, and you know, it was interesting. I enjoyed my education there. What was most transformative about that experience was a happenstance conversation with a contracts professor who actually took an interest in me. And we were talking about what I wanted to do, and he knew I was an athlete, and I said, well, I don't think I want to practice law. I just don't know if that's what I want to do now that I've learned what that means. And so he said, well, have you ever thought about, you know, getting a master's degree in athletic administration? And I said, you can go to school for that? I actually said that. I didn't know. I had no idea. You know, I was a Division I athlete, just, you know, not even thinking about that as a career. And he said, yeah, Carolina, right down the road, has a great program. And so I did. I made a decision to walk away from that. People thought I was crazy. But, you know, it wasn't for me. That just wasn't what I enjoyed it. I did well. I just didn't I didn't want that to be my career path. So that's the story. I get that question a lot. Yeah. Yeah.
To go back to the finance issue, do you have any experience working with deficits in programs financially?
I do. We were in a deficit situation at my current institution in 2007, and we had, the reason why was a little bit different than here. We had just, prior to my arrival, Northeastern had moved into the Colonial Athletic Association, which, if you're familiar with our level of Division I athletics, we were in the America East, and that's a little bit different experience. America East is very geographic footprint in the Northeast. The Colonial Athletic Association is all throughout the East Coast, and that was a strategic decision by the university because they wanted to have a presence outside of just the Northeast. So it was a great strategy, but we found out when I arrived pretty quickly that we weren't funded for that. They did increase the funding a bit prior to the move, but we were in a deficit situation, and in a lot of ways. It wasn't just the finances we had, personnel. We weren't able to keep up at that level of competition. So they made a minor investment, again, in us recognizing that we needed a little bit more. And the first thing we did was paid down that deficit. That was the responsible thing to do with the new revenue that we received. And then solidified our infrastructure. People running around with their hair on fire, couldn't get their jobs done and running out the door. So we wanted to make sure that we stabilized that first and foremost so that we could move forward. So that was my experience. Anything else?
Well, that's it for questions. I think we can conclude and thank Amanda for her presentation and her answers to our questions.
Yeah. Again, I appreciate everyone's time being here today and allaying my fear that no one would show up. I do appreciate it. Have a great day.